Hi, folks. It's Rob Downs with Managed IT Solutions. It is December 30th, so it's New Year's Eve. Yes, just 2 Eves. So Happy New Year early to everyone out there who's watching. Uh, and I just want to have kind of a New Year's Eve thing, real quick, or a New Year's thing. It is, of course, the time that all of us, well, not all of us, most of us, have resolutions, right? Something we're going to change in the new year. Um, Something that hopefully we can keep on with for more than a month. I'm sure there's lots of people who have pledged to lose some weight and get in shape because it's the same one I do every year. I started already for this week, cutting out soda from my diet. So, if I'm a little cranky here, now you know why. I'm kidding. I don't really get cranky without soda, but um, from my industry's perspective, what I'd love to see people do for resolution from a cybersecurity standpoint is password manager. Go get yourself a password manager if you didn't get one for Christmas, because it was the go-to gift for this season. Go get yourself a password manager. Go out there and start changing a password a day. Right, just one password, one time, one day. Before you know it, you'll have all your passwords out there in a password manager. You'll be using different passwords for all your sites. You're not using the same password for every site right now. Actually, if you don't have a password manager, you probably are. If you have a notebook with all your passwords on it, then kudos to you. Maybe make a copy and lock it in a safe, because if you lose that little notebook, it would be bad, right? So with the password manager, of course, you can use it on your computers. PC or Mac, doesn't really matter. Linux for some. You can have it on your tablet. You can have it on your smart device, and it can help you fill in your passwords and make new complex passwords as well. So that's always a great thing. And while you're in there changing that password, go ahead and enable multi-factor authentication, MFA, 2FA, whatever they might have on your site. So my bank, not great for MFA. They use SMS or texting. Something's better than nothing, but texting really is the low bar. If you've got something better like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or something like that, that's MFA, right? And you can use you don't have to use Google Authenticator as your MFA. You can use something else if they say Google Authenticator if you have another one you like. Best practices, of course, is to not have your MFA in the same app as your password manager. Password managers do MFA, but I guess it's better you do something than nothing. Again, right? So best practices. So that's what I've got for New Year's for a resolution. I just want to thank everyone looking back who tuned in and watched. I've actually been fairly consistent this last quarter of the year, having these videos talking about cybersecurity, what either that be news or something you can do to help yourself, help your company, help your family, or AI and how it impacts your life and business. So I will continue to do so next year. That is my goal. And see if I can't, put some more AI related stuff in here instead of just this little, I can't ever figure out which one it is. This little bitty mid-saying thing here. See if I can't get it here on this one, right? So just a little commentary, etc. So last thing I wanted to do, I'm going to make this week a little shorter, is that as we do come up on the new year, I want to reminisce, wax poetic, or whatever you want to say. I had seen someone else mention some things, and just want to remind people that sometimes your IT people are doing their job, which is why you don't seem to ever have a problem, right? So I am old enough to remember where I was December 21st or 31st, 1999, as we were approaching the new millennium. Not to say that the millennium didn't actually start in 2001 because there's no year zero, but that's neither here nor there. Everybody was calling it, the new millennium. So for those of you who may have fond memory or vague memories of it or no memories at all, that was a time, the prior years or two or 3 years leading up to that where Y2K hysteria hit, right? So everybody was on the news talking about it, how the world's going to come to an end. It was going to be the computer apocalypse, and that, things would just stop working, financial systems would crash, economies would would collapse, and that society would just turn into chaos. Nothing big, right? So, a little history as to why that was a problem. When they first started doing the coding for these large computer systems that financial institutions used or government institutions used, storage memory were at a premium, right? To give you an idea, this has this little stick. You can get these little sticks. You can get them up to, I know 256 gigs I've seen. They might make larger. I don't know why you'd want something larger at this point in time. I'm sure 10 years from now, I will sound stupid. But yeah, so imagine that for 5 megs, not gigs, 5 megs. So, and this is not even 5 gigs. It's even bigger than that. So 1,000 times smaller. Honestly, probably 2,000 times smaller in size. For storage capacity was the size of a refrigerator, right? Like, a real refrigerator. I'm talking, GE, Kenmore refrigerator, Samsung refrigerator, right? So, yeah, space was at a premium. It was kind of expensive. And those things didn't cost like $5, right? Not that big. $500,000, probably more like it. So when you were coding a year and there were lots of records with years in them, instead of coding 1990 as 1990, they coded it as 90, right? So it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think about all the records that you'd have in there in the government and in financials where you've got the year, those 2 digits can make a lot of storage difference, right? So that's why they did that. Fortunately, in the late 80s, people started raising the alarm a little bit, and they kind of figured it out, that what was going to happen. And companies started taking measures, right? Especially, financials, right? So if your mortgage was matured in, you got your mortgage in 1985, and you got a 20-year mortgage. Well, your mortgage matured in 2005, right? So you had to be able to account for that. Otherwise, your mortgage was going to flip. It was going to take a problem. When I first noticed it, and when financial institutions had already hit or figured it out, was, my credit card, when I got one that expired in 2001, well, if it wasn't set properly, then it would have thought that my credit card expired in 1901, which means, in 1997, my card would have expired 96 years ago. So they started figuring out this stuff, started fixing it ahead of time. But there was a really big rush by folks like yours truly, who worked in IT, and we worked on systems to make sure that didn't happen, right? I was working in a regional hospital at the time. We spent our last year making sure that all the computer BIOSes, which is the software that talks to the hardware directly on your computer, the operating systems like Windows, specifically Windows, the server software, Windows, their BIOSes, and then the firmware for all the network gear was up to date and could take the new year format and knew what to deal with it, and worked with it. And we spent time, forward testing stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And so, on December 31st, 1999, around, I want to say 11 o'clock in the morning, or was it noon? I can't remember. We're all watching Sydney, Australia, hit the new year because they're, of course, ahead of us. And notice that, the transmissions were still going. So after New Year's, so that was a good sign. There were no reports of any major issues or outages. And as the new year progressed across the globe, Europe, of course, got hit or entered into it several hours later. And then finally, the United States. It was kind of a big dud. And everybody's like, yeah, what was the big deal? Why did we make all this hysteria out of it? What was all the hoopla about? Nothing happened. Well, that's because, we caught it, we took preventative action, and we worked really hard to make sure very little happened, if anything at all. So that's good IT, right? And people outside of the industry were, at the time were like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know why everybody was making such a big deal out on the news. And honestly, they were making a big deal out on the news at the time because, big splashy headlines about the end of the world make for good viewerships, and good viewerships make for good money. So just like today, folks, sensationalism and anger clicks, etc., etc. Is how these people make money. So maybe I'll have a rambling diatribe on the evils of social media and the way that they work next year. Part of AI, maybe, or cybersecurity. Sometimes cybersecurity too. But anyway, just want to reiterate, it's good IT, good cybersecurity. You don't notice it's there. You do notice when it's not there, right? That's the big thing. So make sure that you are doing your due diligence when selecting an IT company and that they're living up to your standards and doing some work for you in the background. So with that being said, like I said, I'm going to cut today short because it's the holiday almost. I'm feeling lazy. And remind you that cybersecurity starts with you. Go out there and get yourself a good password manager for the new year. Start using it. And I'll see you next year. Have a good Tuesday, folks.